This morning, our guest is Brett Gottlieb. Brett is the owner of Comprehensive Advisors based here in Carlsbad. He's been in the financial services industry for over 16 years, focused on retirement planning with the Social Security as the key component. He's one of 200 advisors across the country with the NSSA, National Social Security's Advisor Certificate. And with that, welcome, Brett.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Brett, thank you for being here today. And we know Social Security is a major topic on everybody's mind. I just got my letter of what I will potentially get just about a week ago.
There you go.
So why?
That means you haven't signed up online yet. You
No.
got to get your online benefit statement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, much better way to go. Then you don't get that paper in the mail anymore.
Oh, yeah, go green.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Maybe that will raise it a penny over. So why is Social Security income planning such an important aspect of one's retirement plan?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, in general, you have to create a plan. And Social Security is like this foundation. It's the baseline for what your income is in retirement. You're not getting a paycheck anymore. You don't have this guaranteed income source coming in, and so you've got to start somewhere. And Social Security, along with pensions, they're things that are more guaranteed, and they'll be there for you, for the most part, moving forward. So it's great to have this starting foundation, and it's not like used to be, hey, I'm 62, I need to file for benefits, I'm 65, I'm 66, I'm 70. There's more to it than that. There's a lot more strategy involved in making sure that in retirement you've got a solid income source. And that's just the beginning of it. That's just the foundation. Right. And then we add on top your investments and your dividends and your pensions and the other things that you have in your retirement plan.
Wish I had a pension.
Don't we all?
What are the 5 most important parts of Social Security that people should be focused on? I know there's probably more than that, and when I attended your seminar, you mentioned how many different hundreds of options there are, which I was like, oh my God, please don't say that because I'll never figure it out.
Well, and that's exactly it, is Social Security is this extremely complex system. And you've got 567 different ways that you can claim for benefits.
How many?
567.
Okay.
Now, only a few of them work for each person, but there's all these different strategies. And in fact, some of the changes that have happened recently, maybe there's a few less strategies. But then you top that off with 2,728 rules that determine all of these claiming strategies. So trying to pick through that, that's kind of the one key thing. It's like, hey, it's extremely complex. That's number one. And so you've got to understand the various rules or work with somebody that can help you understand those. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the earnings test. A lot of people don't realize, people work longer. We're working into our 60s, but they go and file for Social Security benefits at 62. But they're making too much money. And there's a rule, it's called the earnings test, that says, hey, you make too much, so I'm just not going to even give you your Social Security benefits. You get them at a later date and time. Well, you lock yourself into something that's smaller when you could have just waited altogether. A third thing that's probably a key component is it's permanent. Once you file for benefits, you can't change it.
Ever.
Now there's one caveat. There's a 12-month look-back rule, so you can actually reverse your election as long as it was within the first 12 months of filing. But you have to pay all the money back that you got to actually reverse it. And you can only do that once in your entire life.
Oh, wow.
So that's another major one. The fourth thing is probably taxes, the tax component. Social Security is an extremely tax-advantaged vehicle. In California, it's not taxed. Federally, it is taxed. But it's taxed based upon what's called provisional income. So there's a special calculation determining what your income sources are, and based upon that, you decide if, okay, this much of my Social Security will be taxed. None of it 50% or 85%. 85% of it being taxed is the most at your effective tax rate. So 15% of it federally is not taxed. Well, making sure that you manage the tax component of Social Security is important. And then the last one, and the one that most people talk about, is, well, every year that I wait from 66 to 70, it grows at 8% per year. Guaranteed. It's built into the system, and on top of it has inflation. Well, in today's economy, tell me where you're getting 8% return on your money anywhere. So why would you not maybe consider living on your CD money or money in the bank or some of your investments and let that 8% keep accruing and growing that income base to a larger benefit?
So just So let's just make me want to clarify, because we had a guest on that talked about Medicare. In Medicare, you had to file, no matter if you took it or not, the Medicare, you have to file something when you get to be 65.
Correct.
Is there a provision in Social Security that says we need you to file, you may not take it, it's okay, you don't have to take it, but you need to file something, or you just don't do, just
Yeah, you can literally do nothing until you're 70. But that's not necessarily the best thing to do, because then you might lose out on strategies. If you're married, if you are a widower, if you have children at home that are under the age of 18, you filing for benefits could open up benefits for those other people. They call it auxiliary benefits. So there's a lot of different strategies there about why and when you file for something to make sure that everybody that is eligible for benefits gets benefits.
And let's go into the weeds a little bit. I mean, there's so many people that have second marriages and all that. I mean, you can, I can 1 minute give an overview of what people should think about if they're in a second marriage situation. And
Yeah, if you're in a second marriage, if you're actually in a second marriage, your benefits that are available to you are really pretty much just on that new spouse. The question really becomes if you're not married. So if you've been married, you were married over 10 years, you have the ability to collect an ex-spousal benefit. And that's the idea that, hey, this person I was married to at one time, I have access to half of their benefits at some point in time. And again, there's a lot of rules about what you can and can't do and when you file for it and how you file for it, but there are benefits for most people in some scenario. One of the other key things is we live in California. There's a lot of government, whether it's state or local or federal employees that may not have paid in Social Security. Maybe they did for part of their career, and now that they're not, and so they have pensions. Well, there's two rules in the pension world called the GPO, the Government Pension Offset, and the WEP, which is the Windfall Elimination Provision. And these impact things like you're saying, hey, if you were married, is there a spousal benefit for me to collect? Well, no, because you were a teacher and you have a benefit that's bigger. It's actually 2/3 greater than what the Social Security benefit is. So, it can get extremely complex.
wow.
And you can't take and suspend and do any of those little games anymore. Of course, I missed it by 6 months. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yeah, the Bipartisan Budget Act. So in October this last year, there was they were trying to pass the budget bill, and in the process of passing the budget bill, they got rid of two of the key claiming strategies. The first strategy was file and suspend, and this was the idea when you were 66, if you were married, you could say, hey, I don't want my benefit, I want that 8% deferred growth, but my spouse, I want her to collect half of my benefit while we're waiting. If you were not 66 by April 30th this year, you can't do that. You can't file and suspend anymore. You just have to file to allow that spouse to collect. And you had to have done it actually on April 29th because April 30th happened to be a Saturday. So that was one of them. The other one is the one that you're potentially talking about, which is the restricted application. Now, the two of them work together, and that was where there was a lot of confusion, but they also work independent. So if I went and I filed for benefits, my spouse could restrict when she was 66 and say, hey, I don't want mine, let mine keep growing, but while I'm waiting, I'm going to collect half of my spouse's benefit. Problem was, that rule was if you were not 62 by the 1st of this year, so 1/1/16, or your birthday being 1/1/54 or earlier, you can't file restricted anymore. So you only have your own benefit, or if there happens to be a little extra above yours to get to equal half of your spouse's.
Wow. I mean, I
Just missed it.
Just missed it. That's my soon-to-be stepmom. She missed it. Her birthday was 1/2/54. Talk about major planning issues.
Brett, I know you've met with hundreds and not thousands of people, and they come through your door, you've talked to them on the phone. What is the one or top two or top three things that you say, hey, this is what I see over and over and over again as either a mistake or a positive?
I think the earnings test. The earnings test is the biggest thing because people are working longer, we're healthier, we're living longer, and so people not actually, they're filing for benefits when they probably shouldn't yet. So I think that's probably the biggest one, and just planning in general.
Is that just because they're misinformed, or they think that
They don't know.
this is what they have to do?
Yeah, they just don't know. They just think, oh, I'm 62, I'm eligible for Social Security, let me go file. And they don't even realize, and they go down to Social Security and they file for benefits, and then they get a letter that says, hey, yeah, you're making too much money this next year, so we're going to withhold half or all or whatever of your Social Security.
And that's deferred, but then there's no gain on that. I mean, in terms of they're not going to increase it for holding it.
Right. Yeah, so
Do they hold it just for that year and then you start over with the next year?
So yes, so you start over each year, but then what happens is the amount that was withheld, you don't see that until you either stop working and then they increase your benefit, or you get to 66 and they increase your benefit. But think of it this way. If you have a $1,000 benefit at age 66 and you choose to file at 62, it's a 25% reduction. So now you're getting $750 a month. But instead of being locked in at that and now it's only $750 and there's nothing else you can do, if you just waited from 66 to 70, it's 32% growth, 8% a year for 4 years. It's $1,320. Well, what would you rather have, $750 a month for the rest of your life or $1,320? And then now you top on it. If I file for the $750, but I'm making over $15,720 for the year, they're maybe not going to give me anything.
Oh.
Why would you even file for it if you're not going to get any of it or a fraction of it? You might as well just wait.
And let it grow.
Yeah, find other investments or other sources of income to fulfill your needs.
Makes sense. So with that act, the two things that you mentioned that we talked about a little prematurely, was there anything else in there that people need to be aware of?
No, I think
Those
it's
were the
really,
two
it's just,
biggies?
yeah, those are the two biggest things. The file and suspend, again, it's gone now at this point. There's nothing else you can do about it. If you were not 66.
Gone forever? Can it be reinstated?
It could be reinstated.
It's
I mean,
Congress. They can-
yeah, it's Social Security. They
Yeah.
can choose to do what they want. They can put some new bill in place and send it through the House and Senate and hopefully get it signed. And there'll be more changes, more than likely. I mean, the Social Security system has got challenges, and so they've got to find ways to fix it.
I mean, in your crystal ball, do you see them delaying that from 62 to 60? I mean, just to try to, I mean, from a political
prolong
standpoint,
it
is that
more.
politically ever possible? I mean, this is
Yeah,
the
I mean,
crystal ball.
they've already, I mean, remember, if you've got Medicare at 65, Social Security used to be 65. So now 66 is the full retirement age. But then you have some people that every year after 1954, so 1955, it's 66 in 2 months. 1956
Okay,
is
so it
66
is
in 4
already
months.
in-
So they're already pushing it. So for myself, 1960 and beyond, it's 67. I would expect that they're going to keep pushing it out further, more than likely. They'll keep making changes. In fact, on the Social Security Administration website, there's actually a listing of all the different suggestions or ideas and how much it will fund the system to make sure that it's still there.
Which is my next question. Do you think, you hear all this,
gloom and doom.
yeah, is Social Security going to run out of money? And, I have friends who, their financial planners told them, just take it, invest it, and, get your money while you can because it might not be there later.
I don't believe in that. Every July they come out with a press release that says, hey, the system is here. Here's what the balance of the funds are. This is what the average benefits are. We expect it to run out at X point in time. Right now it's projected to run out of money in 2034. So that's 18 years from now. But when it runs out, what is sometimes missed is almost 80% of the benefits needed at that future date are covered by those of us that are still working. Now, how you feel about that is a different conversation, but the idea is if we're still paying into it, maybe I may not see it, but I'm helping support it.
Right.
I would expect there'll be continued changes. The recent changes they just did will probably adjust that number. We won't know for a few years. But I tell people, if you're 55 plus, it'll be there. It may look different at some point in time, but it'll be there. For the younger ones, we need to save. Save as much as we can and make sure that we're preparing ourselves
count
for the
on it.
future. Don't count on it.
You've told I know you have young kids, so you've told your
Yes.
kids.
Save. Dad's saving as much as he can for you right now.
Well, Brett, we know that you're one of the leaders in the Social Security arena here in San Diego County. What services do you specifically provide? Can somebody call you for a consultation, or how does your service work in that
Yeah,
regard?
so I'm a fee-based financial advisor, and so initial consultation, I talk with people for 15, 20 minutes on the phone, find out if there's things I can do to help them, even an initial visit for an hour or so, and understand your situation, make sure that you're planning appropriately for whether it's Social Security, whether it's just investments. I ask a lot of people, if you are looking at your overall portfolio and your retirement plan and you haven't, you're not totally sure if it's going to work out, or you find out maybe it's not, when do you want to know? Sooner versus later. Take the time, get a second opinion, and kind of see what's available for you.
Yeah, and Social Security is something that people really need to get some more information about, because they are
right.
making mistakes.
That's right.
That will cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars if
Oh,
they
yeah.
live.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Well,
500 and how many?
567 different ways to claim.
67 different ways.
So, I see clients on a regular basis. I had a client just yesterday, actually. I was in Los Angeles, and the spouse, the husband was 70, over 70, been collecting for quite some time. The spouse was 64, 66. Had no idea there was even a spousal benefit. She has her own record. She could have filed for her own. They have more than enough other assets. They don't need it. But why not go and file for half of his while yours continues to grow? It's free money. It's like $50,000 or $60,000 over the next 4 years. It's a lot of money.
So I highly encourage people to at least give you a call, because
Yeah.
it's money that you deserve.
Don't leave it on the table.
Don't leave it on the table, whether you want to take it to Vegas or use it for whatever purpose. At least it's your money.
That's right.
Take it advantage.
Yeah, at least you know your options. You knows what's out there. If you
Right,
choose,
right.
and many times we find that, hey, the best strategy is waiting too long, and it doesn't make sense, or financially it doesn't make sense. You need the money, so file for it early. One of the big missed things that I think people lose out on is when you turn 66, you have the ability to suspend your benefit. So if you took it at 62 and you chose, hey, our parents are living longer, they pass away, you have an inheritance, you decide to work again at a future date and time, stop your Social Security. It's 8% guaranteed growth.
There is that
Yeah.
little loophole there
That's
where you
right.
can stop. Okay, well, see,
You'd be
there you go.
68 and stop it for 2 years and get 16% growth. Where else are you going to get 16% in the investment world nowadays?
Not at the bank.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Brett, thank you so much for coming on today. You've been a wealth of information, and I hope people will take advantage of a consultation with you on the phone, because, again, Social Security, Medicare, it's so overwhelming. Even PhDs can't figure this thing out. So I hope they'll give you a holler.
Well, thank you.
So stay tuned for more Senior Stay or Go TV. We'll be right back.